It seems like we've got yet another mess going on up on Capitol Hill with this this new healthcare bill that Paul Ryan and company have rolled out. I don't know if you've been following what's going on over the course of this week, but I wanted to see if we can't get your thoughts on it, and we can maybe get into a little bit of the specifics over the course of the next few minutes.
Sure. And I do want to speak about this, though I'm tempted to say not another word from our fearless leaders about this new form of Obamacare that I'm going to call Rhino Care, and not another word from them until we are definitively told that there is no provision whatsoever allowing Congress to exempt itself whatsoever with this law. As with anything else mandated by Congress, every single dotted I and crossed T in this had better apply to them too, and not just the people whom they are lording this thing over. Because remember, it's government-controlled health care. It's a system that requires involuntary enrollment in an unaffordable, unsustainable, unwanted, unconstitutional continuation of government-run medicine. And, even in this new quasi-reform proposal, it is still an aspect of socialism. That's the whole premise here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, one of the things that's really interesting here is that I thought over the last 7 years or so since they passed Obamacare and rushed it all through, one of the big things that we always zoned in on was the individual mandate. The government forced you to buy health insurance, and if you didn't comply, then you paid a tax to the federal government that was collected by the IRS. And under this plan, there's this is what Senator Rand Paul says, that there's an individual mandate in there, but instead of a tax being collected by the federal government, it's a fee collected by insurance companies. I mean, that almost seems worse.
Right. I think that's something that now this 30% additional fee will be collected by some of the private sector, which means politicians are allowed again to pick the winners and losers in this, and it makes you wonder, who's lobbying hardest for aspects of this new bill, because obviously there are special interests involved. Otherwise, certain private sector segments of our economy would not be rewarded as they will be with this fee going to, instead of the IRS, going to private companies. It would be really helpful if every single one of these politicians would do like the NASCAR drivers do, and it's been said before, but, let them wear their sponsors plastered all over their three-piece suits when they show up, so we know what side they're on and who they're actually doing the bidding for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting because we've asked the Republican leadership, we've asked the various committees and whatnot, the question: which lobbyists were involved in writing this bill, and which parts of the bill did is there lobbyist insertion? And we haven't gotten an answer to that question.
That's a great question. That's a great question. The people want to know, is this Rhino Care? We know that it helps big pharma, big lobbyists who need big government to stay in business. We want to and have the right to know who's actually putting pen to paper and writing this, because the politicians don't write the laws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, another one of the things that's really interesting here is that when they first introduced the bill, then they did they had in two separate committees, the House Energy and Commerce Committee and the House Ways and Means Committee. They stayed in all night working on this legislation, right? Like until 4 a.m. What is the rush here, right? I mean, we can take a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month to get this right. I mean, what's your reaction to them rushing this legislation through? Senator Cotton says they should slow down, hit the brakes here, maybe rethink this, and maybe even start over.
Well, Cotton's right. Dr. Rand Paul is right. Dave Bratt is right. Some of these public servants are right in saying, let's do it right this time, because remember, the rush job under Obamacare gave us what we're having to deal with today, which is a devastating system that is, again, lorded over us. They passed it with that rush through process of theirs. So no, it's very important that the people are allowed to see what's in the bill before even in this first draft what their thinking is, so that we know the differences between Obamacare and RhinoCare. But we can't lose sight, though, of the whole premise, the entire premise of both the pro-Obamacare and the pro-RhinoCare arguments. It's so wrong, not because it's still so unconstitutional. It's still taxation without representation. It still picks winners and losers because some corporations get to opt out of the requirements that hit everyone else. And it still infringes on states' rights, and it still weaponizes the IRS against Americans who just simply seek freedom and choices and sensibility in their family's health care. The IRS will be taxing aspects of this without representation because we have no choice. So we're shackled to politicians' whims and special interests, bullying influence, which does violate the Constitution, and it allows government to actually have a lien on our health. People need to realize this. It's the foundation, it's the premise. So I don't know why we're still even giving an inch on aspects of socialized medicine via this new RhinoCare proposal. Is that okay with conservatives? With Republicans in office that say they want to put patients first. They say they want freedom. They say they want a free market to drive the insurance system that we have in America. But no, government's still in control. Government actually have a lien on our health because they lord over us devastating penalties if we want to opt out of a big government mandate.
Now, if I want to ask you, if Paul Ryan were here, and by the way, he won't come on our show. He won't come on the show here to talk about this. We've asked him on repeatedly to talk about this and a number of other things. He won't come on and talk to conservatives. But if he were here and you were able to talk to him in face to face, Governor Palin's Paul Ryan, Speaker Ryan, what would you say to him right now about this? How do we I think there's a lot of things we do agree on, right? Across the Republican Party here, maybe we should let cooler heads prevail. What would you say to Speaker Ryan if you were here right now?
That is such a great point, that there is much that we agree on. Thank the Lord. We all agree that Obamacare is devastating 1/6 of our economy. That's what healthcare encompasses, 1/6 of our economy. And your government took it over. And, it obviously is unaffordable and unsustainable and unwanted. So, yeah, from the get-go, thank the Lord we all have that in common, that we want to do away with Obamacare. And I would ask Paul Ryan's forgiveness if I come across as sounding like I'm just whining and complaining about a problem without proposing a solution, because like Teddy Roosevelt said, that is the definition of whining. So I want to propose solutions, and I want Paul Ryan to listen to the people who are suggesting that, okay, if government really is this involved in our healthcare choices and our insurance, then allow the states to take this over, get it out of big government's hands. The most responsive and responsible level of government is that which is closest to the people. If you're not going to allow individuals to have the freedom and the autonomy and the choices provided them in their health care, then at least let it be a states' rights issue. And so that's one. And then let's talk about the tort reform that I still don't see in the new proposal. I'd like Paul Ryan to address that more clearly. I'd like him to really talk about how he proposes to tackle the waste and the fraud in the healthcare system, because that's what's bankrupting the thing. I'd really like him to talk about the intrastate commerce allowance now that we want assurance of, because we know that it's caused a lack of competition. And I really want him to address just that good old American freedom of choice. How can he convince the people that this isn't still big government in bed with big pharma and big Wall Street and sticking it to the people with all this global baloney that was part of Obamacare? How is this rhino care any different?
And then I want to kind of ask you the exact same question to President Trump, right? Like, I mean, if you were here talking with him, and again, I think he's doing a fantastic job in office so far, and so I feel like he could really step in and fix this whole thing and get us back on the right track on this front. What would be your message to President Trump?
Oh, and he will step in and fix it. I have great faith that President Trump is one who will fulfill campaign promises. He already has the track record of doing so. He's done so well in these first months. I'm just, so extremely proud to have been, part of the constituent that wanted him in there and worked hard to get him in there. So I'm sure that President Trump is going to do the right thing and listen to all sides, of course, but understand that especially as a businessman, he's going to understand whether this makes sense in his vision of how to grow businesses and how to get government off our back and, back on our side. How will we create a smaller, smarter government with a proposal like this that basically allows the continuation of a growth of government? That's what any aspect of Obamacare or Rhino Care does. So asking, President Trump specifically about how somebody who is running a business, not a big old Wall Street business, but mom and pop Main Street business, how does Rhino Care help their business get to grow and thrive and survive in this economy?
Right. All right. Well, Governor Palin, I really want to thank you for taking the time out. I know it's early out there in Alaska on Saturday morning to join us here on Breitbart News Saturday.
Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you.